You can do this now. Run, Barry, run!
The DC universe has a plethora of cool superheroes, but most people tend to focus on the super trinity of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, with the rest of the roster of classic heroes being tossed aside. One perfect example for people to shift their focus to is the Scarlet Speeder, the Flash. And today we are going to focus on him and his story, the untold truth about how he is more powerful and more interesting than just some guy that runs fast. But before we get into today's video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe with notifications turned on. He named himself after his favorite superhero. One of the most difficult challenges that all superheroes must face is not fighting criminals, but coming up with an awesome nickname. When Barry Allen first gained speed powers, he knew he had to make the most of them. He wasn't sure what he wanted to call himself. That's when Barry was inspired by his favorite superhero. Barry, the lovable nerd, chose to name himself after the original Flash. He got the idea from a Flash comic book about Jay Garrick's adventures. As it turned out, the first Flash, Jay Garrick, lived on Earth 2, in a completely different universe. It would take several years for the respective Earths to collide, but once they did, the event would forever change comics by introducing the concept of the multiverse. The Flash has an evil twin. Except for die-hard comic book fans, the name Malcolm Thawne may be unfamiliar to many of you. He is, in fact, the evil twin of the Scarlet Speedster who wore the mantle of the Flash in the 1950s. For good reason, evil twin stories are popular storytelling tropes. It sounds outlandish, and it's a great way to add something unusual to the mix. Here's what happened. Two women in labor arrived at the same doctor's office one night. The doctor had been drinking heavily, and one of the babies was strangled by its umbilical cord, while Nora Allen, the other woman, gave birth to twin boys. To avoid admitting his error, the doctor gave one twin to the other woman, Charlene, and one to Nora. As a result, Malcolm Thawne's birth has become a reality. He eventually discovered his true parentage and harnessed his family's powers through a blue flame to become the evil twin of the Flash known as Cobalt Blue. The flame gives him the ability to steal his opponent's powers, making him one of the few supervillains who can actually keep up with the Flash. He's too fast for death. The Flash moves at incredible speeds. How quickly, you ask? He's certainly quick enough to outrun death. While that may not make any sense, welcome to the wonderful world of comic books. Well, anyway, since death cannot capture the Flash, it appears that death has created a hellish death entity to do the job. The Black Flash is a speedster who is the personification of death. Though originally thought to be a myth among living speedsters, the Black Flash would appear to them just before they died. Flashes such as Barry Allen, Johnny Quick, and even Bart Allen all had visions of the Black Flash just before their deaths or near-death experiences. Surprisingly, Max Mercury is the only speedster who has eluded the Black Flash on multiple occasions. The Flash used a treadmill. Everyone knows how the Flash is fast. That is his specialty. He's so quick that he can travel through time. However, with great power comes great responsibility, and we all know that he can't just run through historical eras because it's too dangerous. So he had to devise a solution that would allow him to control whether he went to the future or the past. And the solution turned out to be the silliest, most comic book solution ever: the cosmic treadmill. Isn't it crazy? The treadmill, powered by cosmic rays, allows the Flash to move more precisely through time. He enters the codes for the year he wishes to travel to and simply begins running. Once he arrives at his destination, all he has to do is keep the molecules of his body moving in a certain way until he is ready to leave. Simple as that, which is a very simple task for him. The cosmic treadmill has become a comic book staple because it has been used in a variety of storylines, and it's also goofy in all the best ways. He was mashed up with Ghost Rider. In one of the very few crossovers between Marvel and DC Comics, the two titans did the unthinkable. They decided that once their characters had finished punching each other, they would literally mash them up into different heroes in their Amaglam comics. Superman paired paired with Captain America, Spider-Man paired with Superboy, and The Flash paired with Ghost Rider to become Speed Demon. There were 3 versions of this creation, all of which failed miserably. After all, what do you expect when you're Barry Allen/Johnny Blaze? Hybrid's name is Blaze Allen. The entire thing was a publicity stunt because both companies were struggling with sales. And while the miniseries DC vs. Marvel was successful, its spin-off Amaglam and everything it brought with it were not. Barry Allen gave himself his own powers. As one would expect from the Scarlet Speedster, there is time travel and parallel universe shenanigans. For example, Barry Allen gained his abilities after a lightning bolt struck several vials of chemicals. This bolt, however, was not just any ordinary bolt. It was Barry from the future. In the ultimate irony, Barry Allen gave his Flash powers to himself. Why? All of this originates from his battle with his nemesis, Professor Zoom. In the Flash Rebirth miniseries, Barry discovers that Zoom is to blame for much of his life's tragedy. On numerous occasions, he travels through time to destroy him. So, the only way to prevent this tragedy was to push Zoom far beyond the limits of his abilities. As a result, the Flash transforms into a lightning bolt, bestowing powers on the younger version of himself and creating the Speed Force itself. The protection of the Speed Force. One of the most common arguments is that due to his speed, the Flash may injure someone when attempting to grab that person and save them from being hit by a train, for example. When he runs at full speed to catch that person, the person would explode at his touch. The origin of the Flash's powers, on the other hand, explains how this gruesome fate is avoided. The Speed Force, which is essentially a timeless primal force of nature, is an elemental force similar to gravity that provides kinetic energy that the Flash can tap into, allowing him to control his powers. And because his speed is an element of all movement and kinetic energy, those who can control it can use it to protect those they touch, granting a small amount of Speed Force's power to whoever they touch. There you have it, now you know. No more headaches from thinking too much about it. The Flash is protected from telepaths. Flash's mojo is super speed, but he's much more than that. He can also think and react with supersonic reflexes. His mind is so quick that he is naturally resistant to telepaths and other psychic attacks. His thought process is too quick for any psychic to keep up with. Given that the Justice League battles against some of the strongest psychics in their universe, such as Maxwell Lord and Gorilla Grodd, this ability of his is always useful. These villains employ insidious and covert methods to keep Batman and Superman at bay, but the Flash is strong and powerful enough to withstand their attacks and assist his fellow heroes when the opportunity arises. His father was the first Flash. If you've ever watched The Flash on the CW, you've probably felt like you recognize a certain someone. This is due to a number of factors, the first of which is that there was a previous Flash TV show in the early 1990s that starred none other than John Wesley Shipp as the Flash. He now plays both Barry Allen's father and the Golden Age speedster Jay Garrick. That wasn't the only way the new show paid homage to the original. They also recast Star Wars actor Mark Hamill as the villainous trickster. While it's obviously a different version of the same character, previews for the episode use footage and images of him from the 1990 series, which is pretty cool. The Flash nearly joined Arrow. The CW has built a very impressive shared universe called the Arrowverse over the years with its lineup of DC-derived shows like Supergirl and Arrow, and The Flash is also a big part of this universe. It was the second show in the Arrowverse to premiere, following Arrow, but network executives were unsure whether it was even a good idea to begin with. The thought of Barry Allen having his own show. What a drastic change, right? Grant Gustin's Barry Allen was introduced in Arrow, and the showrunners intended to keep him there because they didn't know if the character was strong enough to carry his own show. Originally, Wonder Woman was supposed to appear after the Arrow, but the project failed, and the Flash that we all know and love today was the result of that failure. Can we all agree that it's not a bad one? We can all be satisfied despite the series' transformation into a Wonder Woman movie because we can all see the series' current success and what it has delivered so far in its own unique way. The Flash will kill as a last resort. A number of well-known superheroes will refuse to kill, with Batman being the most prominent example. Most superheroes tend to stick to the central detail because it is the one that ultimately distinguishes them from being supervillains. In this regard, our boy, the Flash, is a little different. Yes, he won't go around killing everyone in his path, but he will frequently use his pragmatic approach to determine if killing someone is the best solution in the long run. If that's the case, he'll be fine with taking someone's life. There are a few examples of the Flash willfully taking someone's life throughout history, but none stand out as much as Eobard Thawne, or Reverse Flash as he's better known. Eobard traveled back in time to repeatedly harm Barry Allen's loved ones in order to drive him insane and eventually replace him. And Barry, realizing he couldn't stop Reverse Flash because of his time travel abilities, broke his neck to prevent him from ever hurting anyone else again. It's a gruesome thing to do, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't sound so bad. And that is the end of our video. Which of these details about the Flash you didn't know about, and what's your initial reaction to them? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel. Goodbye!